So I would meet these guys, these men and women, and they're like, hey, by the way, I have this great product and we're selling it on Amazon. We're doing great. We're doing $5 million, $10 million, $15 million a year. And, we're ready to scale it up on Meta or Google. And I'm like, the first question I always ask is, what's your AOV?
Welcome to the Ecom Breakthrough Podcast. Are you ready to unlock the full potential and growth in your business? You've already crossed 7 figures in sales, but the challenge is knowing how to take your business to the next level.
Would you like to know the secret way that Amazon is killing your business? Today's guest has the answer for you, so stay tuned till the end. Welcome to the Ecom Breakthrough Podcast. I'm your host, Josh Hadley. I scaled my own brand from 0 to 8 figures in sales, and now my mission is to take it to over 9 figures. On my journey to 9 figures, I bring you the unfiltered conversations with the smartest minds in e-commerce. Past guests include Ezra Firestone, Kevin King, and Michael E. Gerber, author of The E-Myth. Today, I am super excited to introduce you all to Jason Kutasi. Jason is the founder and CEO of SkyHouse, a performance marketing agency that managed $50 million in ad spend in 2025, its first full year in business. He's driven roughly $500 million in advertising over his career and built a children's book publisher that was acquired by Scholastic and a digital marketing platform acquired by Capital One. Jason specializes in copywriting, funnel analytics, and scaling high-growth D2C and telemedicine brands. With that introduction, welcome to the show, Jason.
Thank you. It's so funny. Oh, it's always funny hearing somebody else say who you are, and you're like sitting there listening, and you're like, did I do all those things?
That's a cool guy to know. I should know that guy.
Yeah.
No, Jason, I've seen you present a couple times at different e-commerce events and have always been blown away. In fact, you and I jumped on a Zoom call just to talk because, you scaling the children's book business had a lot of meta funnels, things like that are very similar to everything that we've been running as well. So you are a wealth of wisdom, and I know our audience is in for a treat. But we've got a clickbaity title here that is, hey, Amazon is secretly killing your business. So Jason, what is the answer to this question? How do you feel like Amazon is secretly killing these e-commerce brands? Because you just spoke with a lot of them and you got some really good questions. Yep. And I think you have a good answer here.
Yeah. So there's 2 ways to approach an e-com business. And I think, you either go, it's like the Bloods and the Crips. Are you either rocking Shopify first or are you rocking Amazon first? And so I think if you start with Shopify, Amazon's nothing but gravy and nothing but lift. Like in the kids book business, 22% of our revenue came from Amazon. And we spent roughly $800 a day doing blocking and tackling, brand bidding defense, which, we were spending, I don't know, $3-4 million a month, something like that on meta ads. So to spend $800 a day on Amazon was like nothing. So that was really nice. But I think that one of the problems is when guys start on Amazon, they don't focus on AOV the same way that the Shopify guys do. And if you're running on Shopify to get traffic, you have to go to Meta or, Google. You're running YouTube or Google Display or Demand Gen or whatever. And a lot of this is before TikTok became TikTok. And so I went and I spoke at the Prosper event. I don't know, what was that, 2 weeks ago, something like that. And then I did this roundtable thing for MDS. And then I was we met at the Innovate conference. Shoot, when was that? November, something like that?
Yeah, October. Yeah.
And so one of the things that was interesting is these guys. So I would meet these guys, these men and women, and they're like, hey, by the way, I have this great product and we're selling it on Amazon. We're doing great. We're doing $5 million, $10 million, $15 million a year. And we're ready to scale it up on Meta or Google. And I'm like, the first question I always ask is, what's your AOV? And so I'll get an answer like this. It's like, well, it's, it's a skincare brand or supplement brand, or it's a gadget of some kind, whatever it is. And it's $30. And I was like, okay, so you sell it on Amazon for $30. You make, $15, maybe less, but whatever. But you make $15. Not a chance in hell you're going to get that to work on Meta and YouTube. And the secret number, not the secret number, but the sweet spot is you have to be at a minimum of $60 in margin to pay for that ad spend. So you have to, he who can pay the most for a customer wins. And so then it always dovetails into this other sort of thesis or conversation. It was like, well, how do I get my AOV up? Well, there's a couple different ways to do it. I mean, one of them is you start a sister brand. So same manufacturing, same everything, wrap a different label on it and clone everything over, and then just raise the price. So particularly if you're selling a non-commoditized product, you can raise the price to whatever. So this t-shirt I'm wearing, I can go buy it on Amazon for $5 or Dollar General or whatever, or I can go buy it from Saks Fifth Avenue for $500 or whatever, right? Same thing with kind of supplements. It's much harder if you're selling batteries or kids books. It was one of the problems with the kids book business. There was a fixed perceived value. Like, how do you charge $100 for a kids book? Like you can't. And so, then you effectively go into option number 2 is you really have to bundle or run some type of aggressive subscription offer. And I don't mean like black hat, the consumer isn't aware, but this is very common in ecom now. Guys are running effectively single SKU subscription funnels for that offer. Yes, you can still go buy it not in subscription, but the offer is subscription. And so then you can focus on the lifetime value of that customer, which still can get you, over $60. It just sort of keeps, there's no cap on it really. And then you have a cash flow problem, not a profit problem. But yeah, it's a very, very common thing. And I think I feel like I know, but I think that's why you see a lot of these guys run on TikTok, because TikTok is, for the most part, lower ticket, way more impulsive buys. And so TikTok kicks over to Amazon at a really, really nice ratio. But it's because of that AOV. I remember we got into native years ago on the kids book business, and we didn't have that many books. We were selling 3 kids books. So it was like 3 kids books for $30. Like, you can run low and slow in a little bit, but like, you cannot hit the gas. And to be frank, we're only here to hit the gas. It's, I don't know, that adrenaline rush, I feel like is why we do it. That's why we play the performance game instead of the brand game. The brand game isn't hitting the gas at all. Like, we've allocated $1 million this month for reach and frequency, and we're just going to let everybody know about this, this amazing business that we have. But the performance guys just want to rip. And so I think the big takeaway for the Amazon guys is really, really, really focus on how to get your AOV up. The buyer decision is very different. So like, somebody who buys a kid's book off of our Shopify site didn't wake up this morning and go, I need a kid's book for Timmy's birthday. If they did, they're just going to go to Amazon.com or Target.com or Barnes. And now you have to compete on price. And if you run a regular funnel off of that, it's the same sort of marketing funnel. So what's the problem solution? What you tried before, it's not your fault, overcome the objection, scarcity, close, right? So price is a factor, but like, you're trying to sell a solution and convince them that why they should buy the product, as opposed to like, I'm going to go to Amazon.com and I need to buy some Energizer batteries. Like, it's just very different that way. And so, yeah, I wish more Amazon, they'll get there, but I wish more Amazon guys focus more on AOV, because there's so much scale. Like, there's so much scale. So yeah, that's the takeaway.
I love that comment. And I think it is so true. And in hindsight, I wish I would have started my business back with like a Shopify first mindset. Here's where I struggled, Jason. Like, I always was in the groups where people were doing well on Shopify, but I could not figure out how to unlock it for my brand, because our products were $15, $20 items. And I was like, I can't run a single ad on this, like, let alone like just the fulfillment fees at the time with like having Amazon send it out. It was like, that's going to eat up 60% of the stupid product's price. So like, this is dead in the water from day one. Yeah, I kept experimenting and trying it out. And again, probably wasted like hundreds of thousands of dollars trying to figure it out on this like stupid low value AOV stuff. But like the switch kind of flipped when stuff started going viral on TikTok. And we then said, oh, we can see all the other things that people are buying together with this. Why don't we just run that as a big $100 AOV offer? And yes, now we have $60 in margin to go after these customers, because I don't unfortunately have a subscription product. However, after talking to you, there's some very creative ways that we probably need to begin experimenting and implementing that into the business. But here's the big point that I love that you took away on that is when you start on like kind of a Shopify first mindset with a higher AOV and you have a more premium product, it gives you so much more margin to play with, where then you can scale it to the moon theoretically, because you've got CTV that you could dabble in. You've got more PR, you've got Meta, you've got Google and YouTube and Google PPC. Like the list goes on and on. Whereas if you start a Amazon brand, guess what you got? I got Amazon PPC, and that's my only lever, right? And that's it. And so to your point, I think that the smart e-commerce brand owners are shifting in that direction. And Amazon is still a great platform. And it is those Shopify brands that do not list their products on Amazon because they're worried about cannibalization. I laugh at that because it's like, man, it's just all gravy, like you talked about. And there is a good number. I think like your number at like 22% of your sales were coming from Amazon. I think that's about the halo effect over onto Amazon. It's like 20 to 30% of the sales, people stop scrolling, they pick up the Amazon app, and then they move over there, they search it, they find it, they buy it over there. And it's like, great, I was going to lose this sale anyways to my competitor. Now I just pick that back up. I mean, is that kind of the way you see it?
Yeah. So you touched on a really interesting thing. So when we started on the kids book side of things, I'm like, I'm not doing Amazon. Like I want to own the customer. I want I want the retention. I want to be able to email them, SMS them and whatever. And then I just had this thought, so you're wearing this blue dress shirt, which is also ironic because this is the example I always gave people about this, which was if I walk into Nordstrom's to buy a shirt and I feel like the shirt at $100 is too expensive, and then I walk over to Macy's in the same mall and I look for that shirt and that shirt's not there, am I walking back to Nordstrom's? No, I'm just going to buy whatever they have there. So you're just losing to your competition. And so anyway, we threw it up on Amazon and it was like day one, we just saw revenue coming in doing no PPC, right? They were just going there and typing in the thing. And Amazon for a lot of these ecom brands is similar to PayPal is kind of the way that I look at it. It's just easy. So you're trusted, particularly if you're a new brand, you're going to get your money back if the vendor screws you. All I have to do is hit a button to buy. I don't have to pull out my credit card. I don't have to enter my address, like all of those things, which is why like PayPal and now Apple Pay and Google Pay are becoming so popular. It's just, you just hit a button. The same thing with like Shop Pay. It just reduces so much friction. And yes, Amazon takes a big rip and so does PayPal and so does Apple. So, but I'm like, you would have lost that sale anyway. Maybe you retarget them. Maybe they come back. Maybe I go to the mall again next weekend and I didn't buy a shirt, but I promise you, if you see me going in shopping for clothes, I am buying that day. I do not want to go back. The batteries in your remote control are dead and you go to Amazon to buy I'm buying batteries today. And so you just have to be where your customer wants to buy.
Yeah, really well said there. And I do think like if you're not just there, and again, that's part of like an omni-channel like scaling approach, but you're right. Like people think that, oh, I have a whatever $20 million brand on Shopify. Great. Kudos to you. Like not many people get there, but I'm sorry. There's still nobody knows about you. Like you're still not even close. Right?
We have a client spending $3 million a day on YouTube. A day. Like what? Profitably. That's also an asterisk. But like there is so much traffic and so much reach and so many other channels. And then we do see guys take the hero product that they have and you'll move it over to TikTok. So the opposite is actually also true about this. So if you have like $100 AOV product, it is way harder to sell that product on TikTok. And let's assume you're top of the mark in a category on Amazon. It is very, very hard to sell that $100 product. So all of a sudden you have to figure out, well, what do we do to be able to sell that $100 product on TikTok for 20 or 30 bucks and for, on Amazon for 20 or 30 bucks. And so like it plays both ways. We sold $100 book bundles on Shopify. We sold single books on Amazon. And so you just have to adjust those AOVs by the channel that you're on.
Yeah, totally agree. Now, Jason, I would love to double down. I would love to hear who's spending $3 million a day on YouTube and profitably. Sure. I would love to know that business model. But let's talk a little bit more about like maybe some of your clients, maybe some case studies there. But also, you also had a massive, like your biggest day ever just a few weeks ago. And I would love to dive into that. So why don't you share some wins?
Yeah. So one is most of the people listening to this podcast will remember, I doubt they will all forget, but January and February were terrible on Meta. I think January was the worst January of my career. All things considered, given the size of our agency and the number of clients that we had, it was just terrible. And February sucked as well. And it's an algorithm change. What are you going to do? Right. So like you get kicked in the nuts, but everybody else is like, it makes you feel a little bit better, but it's still painful. And so one of the things that we noticed was video was doing a lot better. So when we had gotten back into the sort of agency game, we were only doing statics. And the reason is because that's what we knew, that's what we were good at. And statics are cheaper traffic and you are very copy forward. So the ad text matters more, your landing page, advertorial, whatever, like the salesman matters a lot more. And then we had this other thesis that when you're making videos, all you're doing is introducing a massive increase of variables that you have to figure out. So it's not even like man, woman. It's how old's the woman? What ethnicity is she? What does she sound like? Does she have short hair, long hair, glasses, red lipstick, no lipstick? Like, she in a kitchen, a bathroom, her car? Like, there's so many variables. And our thesis in marketing had always been very much a staged gain approach. So like, we're just trying to get from step A to step B, figure out the problem, move to C, etc. But we found that our videos were doing really well. And so I think it was last week, I think we were 72% video. I tracked that metric. And look, at the end of the day, a lot of guys are just video. How many times can you say video fast? And that's fine. But like, as an advertiser, you have to remember that Meta and Google also have static inventory that they have to fill. So the win is both. So here's what happened. I'll just give you the numbers. We launched an ad on a Thursday and we were roughly like 30% under target. So we let it go. And then Friday we came back and we started surfing it, which means that intraday we were just raising the budgets. Then Saturday I was like, we should hit this thing hard. So I called the client and I was like, hey, so this is looking really good. We want to be more aggressive this Saturday than we normally are on Saturdays. Saturdays, we usually push the chips in a little bit. Here's what we're seeing. And they're like, yeah, let's do it. So it was one ad, 5 hooks. And so we started moving it to other accounts. And then that Sunday, we pushed the chips in again harder. And we had done 3,200 front ends, like initial sales by 12:30 Eastern. We were running in 3 ad accounts. And we scaled it up so fast that we didn't have time for Meta to adjust the daily spend limit, which was set to $100,000 per account. So we probably would have been close to 10,000 orders that day off of an ad that launched on a Thursday. Yeah. And then of course the client calls us on Monday and they're like, so we're pretty much out of inventory, right? Like, we're going to have to cap you at 4,000 orders a week. And I'm like, all right, I saw this coming. But when you're on the gold, take it. And so that was really fun. So here's what we did. And I think a lot of times people try to overcomplicate things. Did we launch 1,000 ads? No. Did we launch it? We launched a handful of ads. But here's what the guy did. He was obsessive about the authenticity of that video. So this woman is just talking in her bathroom. But there were these pauses. She was touching her face a certain way. She would like pause and look around a little bit. You could see the wrinkles in her forehead. We scaled up the images before we put it into it was a VEO video. And so like the pores were just better. Like, it just looked great. And the video editor working on it was at the end, the video was so good. I was like, so you were pretty much going to quit last week. And he's like, you guys were just writing me, like do better. And so that was the net result. And so, there's this balance between, laser focused and just the shotgun approach, right? So you give me a shotgun with a bunch of shells and a beer can on a tree stump, and I'm just like blindly ripping. Sure, I'm going to hit it. But if you also gave me a rifle, I'm definitely going to hit it. But the rifle, you're not just ripping, like you have to pause, go slow, dial in your scope. Like, there's like work on the front end. And not to say that one is better than the other. I think they're both kind of necessary. But yeah, it was just a massive, massive day. And so we took a lot of learnings from that and rolled it into ads for some of our other clients. But yeah, and so the quality of the actual video went up a lot. Now look, the script was great. Like it was also happened to be a good script. Oh, there was one tip for your audience that we found. I don't know why this works, but it does. We added in a towel rack in the back of the bathroom. And for whatever reason, like the audio portion out of VEO got way, way better. Like there was this echo, like she was in her bathroom. My only thesis is that by adjusting the prompt afterwards and adding that in, reinforced the fact that this woman was in her bathroom. And so VEO was like, oh, we really need to focus a little bit more on bathroom audio. And so anyway, it was super fun. I mean, I must have hit refresh 1,000 times. I was in a great mood all weekend, but we are only in this game to drive really, really fast. And yes, we made a lot of money for the client. They had a very good day also. It's funny because they kept checking in too, like, are we still on target? I'm like, yes, you guys are on target, because Meta has delayed attribution, but we're real time. So I'm like, yeah, it's all coming in because, they're looking in the ad accounts to see what we spent, not just the CRM to see those orders coming in. But yeah, that was a fun day, which was crazy that it happened on the back end of January and February.
Yeah. No, that's why you keep pushing forward, right? That's entrepreneurship at its finest.
It is
always having that relentless optimism. But Jason, follow-up question on that. So with Facebook or Meta's new kind of like Andromeda update,
yeah,
is it a volume game of creative? I mean, that used to be the case. It's like, oh, you want better ad performance, you want to scale up faster. All right, now go from 10, creative pieces and feed it 100 video pieces or something like that. What are you seeing working today? And is it a volume game, or is it just like you said, it's actually like it's primarily quality now?
It's both, but how much is too much? And I think that when you see guys that are running a tremendous amount of volume, often the quality isn't there. And so you're getting lucky. And so you're running around with a shotgun, just firing, trying to hit this beer can and maybe get lucky. But like, that's luck, not a strategy. I mean, it's a strategy, but like, you're hoping to get lucky with that strategy. You're just placing more bets at the roulette table, let's say. But the big shift in Andromeda, which we had kind of always done, I guess. So we weren't impacted by Andromeda as badly as I think others had been. And so the whole thing was around your audience was core. And so you could sell whatever you want. You're selling fruit baskets and you would set up the campaign, but that campaign would have an apple seed audience on an apple seed. And so all those creatives are targeting people who like an apple. And so if you're selling fruit baskets, then you have another campaign for bananas and it's very, very audience driven. Now the audiences matter, but like not nearly as much. And so the creative has to basically dictate whether it's an apple person or a banana person. Because of that, though, the one piece that I think people very frequently skip over is when you're creative driven, you can slice thinner and thinner into a given avatar. And so what I mean by that is these are all the people that bought apples off of our Shopify store. And these are all the people that bought bananas. And that's great. And sure, you could go in and slice and dice and go, well, this person bought 3 bananas and this person bought 1 banana. Great. But what you can do on the creative side with the avatars now is you basically just take somebody who likes apples and then you go, oh, well, now I'm also going to do apple sauce and apple pie and apple slices. And I'm going to do men who like apple slices and women who like apple pie. And then I'm going to do older women who like apple pie and younger women. And then women from the South who might be, very, conservative Christian. And then you got women in San Francisco who are just, more liberal. And you can just keep slicing that down. And the approach that we take, or the way that I think about it anyway, and my team does, is if you start with what the end goal is, and then you work backwards. So what is the end goal on Meta today? It is a large-scale CBO with lots and lots of winners. And so as you start slicing down that fruit basket avatar by fruit, by gender, location, religious beliefs, age, kids, no kids, married, not married, ethnicities, like whatever it is, that CBO gets bigger and bigger and bigger, which makes it more and more stable over time. And so, yes, creative velocity matters in the sense that I have to get to all of those slices, all those individual avatars. So I need some volume to get those avatars. But I'm not putting up 1,065-year-old women in Georgia who like apples. I'm not doing, another 1,000 of bananas. And then that's just too much. You need to, on some level, be prescriptive and thoughtful about what you're doing. Otherwise, you're just going to be burning money. You want to burn money? Come over. We'll have a whiskey. We'll sit in the backyard. We'll throw it on the fire pit. It'll be a great night. We'll have a fantastic time. But I prefer to not burn money.
Me too. No, so I love this, Jason. Here's where I think it gets complicated. How in the world do I manage all of that? And you just talked about, I have a good video editor. It has a good script. It has you're using so many different tools. And ultimately it comes down to the age old question, which is agency or in-house. And when do you cross those barriers and platforms? I mean, you've scaled some very big companies in the past, and you've worked with a lot of large companies. So what is the right answer? And I know it's nuanced, but when do you go use an agency? When do you build in-house?
So I think there's 4 buckets. So one is freelancer. So you got a guy, he's working for you fractionally, an internal media buyer, whatever. You got that guy. You have affiliate traffic. Maybe an affiliate's going to test your offer, whatever it is. So you got that guy. Then you have what I would call a full-time internal guy or guys or team, generally smaller. And then you have an agency. So it comes down to where you are in the life cycle. So if I'm starting a brand new brand, I know nothing about Meta. I've never bought ads there. I suggest you go out and hire the lone wolf who's got half a dozen clients and he's going to stand up some okay ads. Maybe he's fantastic, by the way, and you get a chance to bring him in full time. It's usually not the case, mostly because these are guys that want a lifestyle business. I want to live in Costa Rica for 6 months, and then I want to move to New York for 2 months, and then Europe, and then Bali or whatever. They don't want a jobby job. So the reason, what's the goal of that stage or that business? It's to test your funnel. That's it. And so you're looking at your funnel metrics. How do you improve that funnel? And how do you get to a place where you really start to understand your AOVs and your cohorts on a very, very basic level? Most times where we get brought in is on the back end of that is the guy can only get it up to $5,000 a day. He doesn't know how to spend more than that. And it's fine, right? So you have an E-Class Mercedes and I have a Ferrari. We'll do it the other way around, right? And we're both racing on a track, but we're going 60 miles an hour. It doesn't matter, right? And then you get up to 80 or 100, and maybe there's a dude in a Civic, and at 100, that starts rattling, right? And so the way that you drive a car at a faster speed is very different than the way you drive it going 60 miles an hour, or even 100 miles an hour around a track. So anyway, the point is I think you start with a lone wolf fractional guy. And maybe he's good, maybe he's not. Maybe you test 2 of them against each other, whatever. But you really want to manage your costs, and you're trying to figure out your funnel. Do I run, 8 books? Do I run 15 books? Do I run 20 books? I don't know. 20 books isn't going to have the same conversion rate as 10. 10 is going to be more. So you're trying to find that sweet spot that ultimately makes you the most amount of money. One common mistake I'll see is guys will stand up and offer and they're like, well, I don't want to pay anybody. And I happen to know some affiliates or an affiliate network, or a guy said he would run this on a rev share or whatever it is. And I agree that I'm going to front him $2,500 or $5,000 in test budget, because if he, hey, you're trying to attract them, you have no risk. So run it and see what happens. If that fails, you are not getting him back. He's like, I already tested it. It doesn't work. No, we've made all these changes now. Cool. Give me another $5,000 to test. And I was an affiliate for years. That's how I cut my teeth on performance. But why do I want to go back? I don't. There's a million other offers I can run as an affiliate. And then, but let's assume you have this lone wolf and he sits and he tests and it's doing really well, and you've been in marketing for a while, so your funnel's better, whatever. You have 2 choices now. You either go agency or you try to build an internal team. For me, you're going to get the easiest transition by moving to an agency then, and then an internal team after that. So what's the job of an agency? And we are gasoline on the fire. So I'm going to be able to throw a lot more resources at your product than you can across a lot more channels. Because if you go and get TikTok and Yahoo and Google Display and email and SMS, dude, you literally just built an agency internal. Now, over time, you can build all of those things out yourself. I would argue that a good agency, I actually think most agencies are fucking trash. We tested probably a half a dozen with the book business. I fired all of them. So, but their job is to basically, accelerate your growth. The benefit, however, and I would still do this, is build a team internally, even if it's small, even if it's a couple guys, for a variety of reasons. One, you're probably going to share more details, more data with your media buyer. Maybe you have a new funnel. You don't want the agency to just start running it. So you have your internal guy run some traffic to it and you're testing the next offer. And then you get that offer dialed and then you kick it to the agency. More importantly, if for whatever reason that agency doesn't work and you can't find another one that's good, you just created an entire choke point for your business. Do not do that. I have told every client forever, build an internal team. Go get a couple guys. The hard part is you got to kiss a lot of frogs. And, how do I train them up? They're going to need training and they're going to need a manager. And do I start with the manager and then get the guys, one level down? No, start with the guys one level down. Just get them, just manage them like normal people within your business. But really what you're doing is you're decoupling risk and you're giving yourself the latitude or the grace to be more aggressive with budgets. You can, and I don't mean spending more, I mean losing more, right? You're going to spend up 3 offers and this one's not working. So we're going to dial this one. It just gives you more control. You just have to be in control of your traffic and your offers.
Yeah. Jason, I love that comment. You talked about this though, and which has definitely been my experience. Most of the agencies out there suck.
Yeah.
And so when you did that with the book business, what did you do? And especially I would argue you came from a unique affiliate copywriting aspect. So you could get in there and nerd out on the offers. But I would argue probably 80% of the brand owners, like they don't have that skill set or expertise. And so they are relying on an agency. And even when it comes to hiring internal, always easier said than done. So like, what did you do in that circumstance where it was like one agency after another, you cycled through 5, like how were you A, still profitable, and B, how did you begin to scale up from there? What were the lessons learned and what did you do? What moves did you make?
Yeah, I mean, so we were marketers, right? So we had an agency before we started the book business. So it's kind of an unfair edge. And the vast majority of our traffic was internal. But, some of the agencies that we brought in, this is the hard part. And as an agency owner, I probably shouldn't say it, but I'm going to say it because I believe it and I think it's important. All of the agencies that we ran were founded by guys who were gangster, killer, cold traffic guys. All of them. I knew them all. We had kind of come up together. But what ends up happening is, what's that movie with Michael something or other, Duplicity, the copy. So we had this one girl on our account who is 23 years old. And we gave them all the audiences, all the lookalikes, like all the funnels. We knew it worked. We were running it, but I was like, let's just see if we can give this to them, get this particular book funnel working, the Apple book funnel. And then we're going to go build the banana book funnel and work on that. And then we'll start stacking funnels for top line growth. Dude, we had this advertorial that she sent us that was horrible. So I called her up. We're a difficult client because we know how to drive a car fast. I will say that. And so I called her up and I was like, hey, I just went through the funnel. Here's some of the very basic advertorial changes I suggest making. Oh yeah, this is great, Jason. And so she like made some changes, came back. It was still absolute trash. And we ended up losing a couple bucks because I had signed an agreement with some term. And then I was like, dude, I called up the owner and I said, look, man, I have a real problem. And I sent him the pages and she's overspending and all of these things. He got on a plane, flew down. They had 2 offices, flew to the other office, basically fired half the people there, by the way. And, we paid for the traffic. He refunded the entire fee. And so like, and this is not a pitch for the agency. It's how I think about agencies. Most guys don't do this, but like, we don't put term in our contract. If you don't want to work with me, like just move out. Like, I don't know if you've ever lived with a woman and then you decide to break up, but you're still living together. It's terrible. It's the worst. You just don't want to go home. Right. And so I was like, if you don't want to work with me, you can fire me at any point. And so, yeah, so we do that. We have 2 times now refunded money to a client. And the last one was, God, what was it? $30,000. I wrote a check back to a client. Like, agencies don't do that. And I was like, look, man, I guess I could say I'm doing this for you, but I wasn't. I was doing it for me. The guy was gambling, really, who was buying the traffic. And yeah, and so we've done that twice, not at 30 grand. But I don't know. It's just like treat people the way you want to be treated. But back to my other point, actually, before I got distracted, was it's very, very important that the agency that you do decide to hire, it was probably founded by a guy who knows how to run traffic. And so really it's like, what's your training program look like? How does that information get disseminated? Because I know that the 30 people we have now, 25. At 25 people today, we were 8 last January. But if I go to 100 or 250, I mean, how good is that person going to be? It's the game of telephone. So Josh, I train you to buy traffic. I'm a 10, you're a 9, you train the next guy, it's an 8, a 7. The next person might be a 3. And so I think there's some value in understanding how close the person with like the really good media buyer, the really good creative strategist, like how close are they to the rest of that team?
Yeah. Oh, fantastic words of wisdom. And again, I think like my takeaway too is like, get to know the owner. Like, definitely don't just talk to the sales rep, whoever's trying to like be the account manager. Like, get to know the owner, because in those situations, like whether it's you guys or another agency, it's like, yeah, you want to understand like what their processes are, because like bigger is not always better, right? And oftentimes it's probably even worse for that sole reason of the telephone game. It's like the quality just gets diluted over and over again. If you're a new brand, guess what? You ain't going to be talking with the best account manager or the best creative strategist. You're just the new guy on the totem pole. So fantastic insights there, Jason. And I also loved your approach of like build in-house while you've outsourced to an agency.
Yeah.
And run it simultaneously. I think that's super important. And this isn't just for the meta advertising or performance marketing game. I think this applies across the board. If you're going to go hire an agency for even Amazon PPC management, it's like, good, go hire a team member that can go take a couple of those products and go replicate the exact same systems. And Alex Hormozy talks about that. It's like, I'm going to start working with an agency, letting them know, hey, here's the guy that's meant to replace you. Train him on the exact same systems that you're doing. And
yeah, we do this all the time. I mean, one of our clients, they paid me to consult their internal media team. And, maybe I'm an idiot for doing it. I think that our team is going to be better trained because they're trained by me every day than the weekly or biweekly coaching call that they have. But, I can, shortcut some things. I was like, dude, here's how we're testing today. Here's why we're testing. And how we tested yesterday is not how we test today. And it's not the way that we're going to test tomorrow. We just switched back to ad set budgets about a month ago from CBO. And so like, there's that piece. So, I tell them like, don't do CBO, do ad set budgets. Here's why. Here's the data that supports it. I also think another benefit of an agency too is like we see a lot of verticals. So, telemedicine, health, beauty, lead gen, like all the things. And so we can see those trends. So like, what are the audiences that are performing the best, or what's the account structure, or what's the time of day? And then there's good days and bad days on Meta. And when those days are super obvious, you're like, every single client got crushed today, or every single client hit today. It just happens. And so, yeah. And then I would also say, don't be afraid to test agencies against each other. As an agency owner, I don't like it, but like, I don't know, like put me in a race. Like, let's see who's faster. And so I don't know, there's that like competitive aspect that I kind of like. A bunch of my friends who have agencies, they're like, no, full exclusivity. Like now it's a little bit harder if somebody just hires us for Meta versus like you're in charge of retention and Meta and YouTube. And we really look at the multi-touch attribution model. Dude, another agency comes in, that is so hard. It's just super, super dirty data. But for the vast majority of the people listening to this podcast, it's not gonna make a difference. Yeah. And so don't be afraid of that too. It's the way I think about it.
Yeah, I love it. Totally aligned with that. Jason, there's one final thing that I want to hit on before we wrap things up today. And that is like, where is the e-commerce space and marketing overall headed with AI? I mean, it continues to change on a daily basis, but let's make some predictions here over the next 6 to 12 months. Like, where do you see the e-com and AI space going?
Yeah. So I'll tell you generally where I see it going and just where we're going, which is an offshoot of that. So ads, funnels, the whole thing are being commoditized, right? I mean, you could commoditize the whole thing all the way through Shopify if you're drop shipping from AliExpress. And so you can make videos, you can have Claude write copy, you can do all of those things. I still think today, a good copywriter, the output from Claude that they get is better than the output than 98% of people. Because they if you're, you and I are both in Ferraris now, back on the track, but you used to be a race car driver, you're just going to beat me. I remember there was this guy I used to work with who wanted to be a NASCAR driver. And we went to the go-karting thing. I forget what it's called, but the little go-karts in the indoor track or whatever. The guy lapped me 3 times, not just me. I wasn't in the back, but I'm like, how do you, we're in the same car. And he's like, yeah, most of the problem is that you don't know how to not lose speed into turns by when do you brake? When do you hit the gas? My thing was my tires just kept breaking out all the time, right? So your back end breaks out and all you're doing is hitting the brakes. So he maintained speed. And so I still think for a while anyway, somebody who is a race car driver will do better than a Ferrari than somebody who isn't. And that's mostly around copy. I think copy is the most important. It's the salesman. In any job forever, the person who makes the most amount of money is the salesman. And so that's where the value is. And then I think, okay, cool. Well, the videos, that's crazy. Just the quality of videos that you can have generated. And then, Meta's just let Meta make all the decisions. And, it's so smart and it's so amazing. It's super smart. However, what are the 2 metrics that Meta cares the most about? They care about engagement and they care about eCPM. Why do they care about engagement? Because the more time you spend on platform, the more ad inventory is created for them to sell. And then what do they care about after that? How much are we selling that ad inventory for? And so you have misaligned interests. So where we've been spending a lot of our time now is really around the, predictive and, the predictive modeling, and then around the rules. It's not just rules. It's not if you see, do this, but very AI driven statistical models to make decisions. And so I ran this test on our landers, just the landing pages. We have guys watching, we clip hourly. We don't run 24 hours a day ever. That's also, if you want to come over and have some whiskey and burn some money in my backyard, we can do that. But whatever. Don't run 24 hours if it's a bad day. Like, it's stupid. Anyway, so, we'll have 2 landers and the guys are like watching it and they're trying to wait for some statistical relevance and so on and so forth. We would have saved our clients or reallocated the budget, depending on how you want to look at it, $1.5 million if we had used that model to make decisions on our landing pages. 1.5 million. Doing nothing different. And so where I think this whole thing is going, and I see people talking about this modeling and what they're doing, they're not doing it the way that we are. And which is also kind of wild to me, but whatever. They're like, oh, apples are doing really well. And like, we tell you that apples are doing really well. So like, make more apples. I'm going deep and super granular. And so really the future, the way that I see it is if I can make 1,000 ads an hour, we use predictive modeling for red, yellow, green. And if it's red, that never gets run. If it's yellow, you only have a little bit of traffic to basically see if it correlates to the underwriting that you have. And then if it's green, you let it run. And still, if it doesn't work, you clip it. So really trying to take the decisions out of the human element, totally out of it. We're not there yet. Like, we have the modeling, but we still have guys sitting in the driver's seat of the self-driving cars. And I just think that is really going to be the future. It is Meta would beat us, I think, because they have so much more data, but it goes back to they have misaligned interests. Like, we have found performance better on Meta when you scrub some of the revenue that you send back to Meta. Like, think about that for a second. So you have $100 product and you told Meta that, yeah, I want this product for $100. And then you're like, yeah, like, we don't, we only send 80% of the conversions back. So it's like, we actually don't do that. We actually shave the price because I want them to know who bought, but like, the average price is $80. And then we see better performance on that. And then you think, okay, for the people listening, you're like, oh, you can accomplish this with bid caps and stuff. Yeah, but like, Meta's running it for them. So you have your target, but they know how much revenue all of your competitors are generating from their products at what price points. And they seem to just kind of figure it out a little bit. And I want the competitive edge that other people don't have. And so I think it's going back to data.
I love that. Jason, love that last little tip that you shared there, scrubbing the data back to Meta. But I love the way that you articulated that AI, most people are looking at AI in terms of like, oh, I'm just setting up this bot and this bot's going to go run things for me. Great. If you have some, like, I would say like basic kind of like SOP driven tasks that just need to be executed, great. Let a bot run at it. However, the analogy with the race car driver in there, that's totally on point. And that's the way I see AI being utilized the best over the next even, I don't know, like I'll say 5 years, and then I'll come back and watch this and laugh at myself. But
I mean, for a while, it's going to be for a while. Yeah.
I don't think humans are going extinct anytime soon. And I do think that like that race car driver, like the copywriter is just going to get amplified and be able to do 100x now better than what they're doing today. And so what I think AI does is it augments who you already are and lets you go 10 times faster. And so I still think like $100 million brand built with one guy and a bunch of AI bots, it probably happens, but I don't see it as like a sustainable business. But what I do see is some wicked smart marketers and a team of people that are all leveraging AI, and all the admin is taken care of, but they are utilizing it to create sophisticated models, right? Just as you talked about. They're using it to enhance their copy and test copy and iterate even faster. So I don't think the humans are going away. I think that they're more like just exponentially outperforming others because they now have these tools that make the decisions faster. They're able to iterate more quickly and more accurately at the end of the day. And that's what I'm excited about. Where I think
I think that, I was listening to a podcast with, I can't remember, it was Lenny's podcast, I think, with Mark Andreessen. And he's like, look, it's really simple. If you're a good coder, AI just 10x you. If you're an amazing coder, they just 100x you. And so, if we have really good copywriters, let's say, they can just create a lot more copy. And then you bolt on the feedback loop that we have with the data. And so and then it also learns, but there's still today a piece of the tastemaker, right? Otherwise you don't go say, make me an ad, and you look at this ad and you're like, it's perfect every time. No, it's not. You're like, go make me 5 ads. I hate these 2. This one, let's see it. And I really like these other 2. And so there's still this like tastemaker quality in marketing, and there will be for a while. 5 years, I don't know, maybe a little bit longer. What I can say is that the longer you and I race, you as the race car driver in the same exact Ferrari on the same track, over time, I'm going to get closer and closer to you. not catching up, but like if we raced every time, our times are going to get closer and closer. But I don't know, you're going to get better too every time we race. So am I going to pass you one day? Maybe you were sleepy that morning when you woke up, and I don't know, then I pass you. But yeah, I'm with you on this.
Yeah. Fun conversation. I'm sure we'll look back a year from now and say like, man, how much everything. But love the predictions and love the insights here. Jason, I love to leave the audience with 3 actionable takeaways from every episode. Here are the 3 actionable takeaways that I noted. You let me know if I'm missing something. Okay. But number 1, we started this conversation with Amazon secretly killing your business, especially if you're an Amazon first brand. And it all came down to AOV. So my first action item for you is if you have a low cost item, or long story short, if you don't have a product that gets you $60 in margin every time you sell it, then you've got some work to do. And Jason elaborated on a few things. There's obviously subscription revenue that we could look into, but bundling is a big component of it. You may have a bunch of $20 products that you need to sell only as a bundle on your website, or you need to come out with a sister brand and just raise the price from $20 to $100 and increase the perceived value of that product. So, but at the end of the day, if you want to scale a big brand, I think it's very hard. It's very rare to get a commodity brand. I look at like a lot of the, deodorant type businesses, and the only way that they can sell a stick of deodorant on Amazon, that's fine. But if you look at, if you funnel hack, and here's actually a really good scenario, Magic Spoon, probably my favorite, a box of cereal. Who in the world is going to buy a box of cereal on an e-commerce website? Like the unit economics don't even make sense. Well, guess what? If you go to Magic Spoon's website, they force you. The only thing you can do is like buy a bundle of 6 boxes of cereal. And it's expensive. It's like still $40, $50 just for cereal in and of itself. But like take a page out of their book. And that's the way that you're able to scale a big brand. And I think arguably, like if you want to get to 100 million and beyond, you have to implement something like that. So that's action item number 1. Action item number 2 is going into the agency versus in-house situation. And Jason, you kicked it off by saying, hey, you should honestly go start with a good freelancer. You may have to kiss a lot of frogs, but like go find somebody that can at least like get you a product market fit to say, hey, there is something here. And the juice is worth squeezing over here. You just need to get things tested. And again, it may take a couple freelancers to get it dialed in a little bit. But then you talked about adding an agency to really turn up the volume on that, and whilst simultaneously building your in-house team. I loved what you talked about with, hey, add an in-house team. They start working on maybe some of the new offers or the new funnels that you want to test, get them kind of working, get your beta test out of the way, then go give it to an agency to go light it on fire and to just amp up the volume. So I think that is good words of wisdom across like not just performance marketing itself, but across anything that you want to outsource to any agency, whether it's TikTok Shop, Amazon PPC management, etc. I think the most valuable thing that you can obtain is human intellect. And I think that like the biggest arbitrage that exists now and will continue to exist in the future is like one hire can have exponential returns in your business. Somebody that unlocks something with the next right mindset for you. It's always easier said than done. But even in the world of AI, I don't think that goes away. So that goes into my third and final action item, which is, hey, don't be scared of AI. You do need to figure it out, but you need to figure it out while still having the humans as the race car drivers in those autonomous vehicles. Just like, just as we look at the world today with Tesla and things like that. Yes, there is autopilot and it works, but like you still have to have somebody driving that car. And again, I think the world changes in coming years, but for where we're at today, I think that the most important thing that you can do is truly associate yourselves and build out your network, which again, Jason talked about his network, how he's never done hanging out with people because his network is so vast. But Jason, that's why I would also say like you're very successful because you've surrounded yourself with very like just smart people at the top of their field. And so the more entrepreneurs hang out, like you are with who you hang out the most with, right? And so that's my third and final action item. AI, leverage it, but the most important thing you can do is bring in really, really smart people to your business. Let them harness AI. I know that if I hire a good copywriter or a great copywriter and let them do AI, I mean, they'll still run circles around me, even though I might have Claude Code or something on my side. So Jason, those are my 3 action items. Anything else you feel like I missed or should have added?
No, I thought this was great. This was the content, at least for me. You get in the habit of saying a lot of the same stories over and over, and a lot of new stuff here. So thanks for pulling it out of me.
I love it.
No, but I thought it was great.
Jason, final 3 questions for you then. What's been the most influential book that you've read and why?
Cashvertising. So when I got into direct response, it's just sort of like, it's like how to be a better salesman. That's a must read for all new hires. So like, just think about how to sell with your keyboard. That was a great book.
I have not heard that book before. So
that's good.
That is a writer downer right there.
Yeah, that's a good one.
All right, Jason, I know you've got probably lots of answers to this one, but what's your favorite AI tool that you've been using and how have you been using it?
Claude Code. I'm on the verge of divorce if I keep going to this usage. It's like crack. I just can't stop. Today, I'm just knocking off small things that are super annoying. And so my favorite example, which I did earlier in the Claude Code thing, is like I found out how long one of the guys was taking to upload manually, or a guy on his team. We had like a media ops guy and they just upload all these ads. But I'm like, this is insane. I would never do this. The cost of the guy a month is nothing. But I'm like, this is like, it just irked me so much. And so that took a day. And yes, there were some issues like, oh, I actually want to change this and tweak this and whatever. But Claude Code is just, I don't know, it's Claude itself is getting closer to Claude Code, but Claude Code just lets you do so much stuff. Yeah, I'm cracked on it. It's like all I want to do all day. I do love my wife, by the way, and my kids, but I'm like, there's this piece of me that's like, I just want to play more Call of Duty. It's that same, we were talking about this at the beginning. It's that same like dopamine hit, just like boom, boom, boom. So fun. So
totally
fun.
Agree. And it just gets better and better every day. So that's the fun part.
Yep.
All right. Third and final question here. Who is somebody that you admire or respect the most in the e-com space that other people should be following and why?
The guy who got me into the affiliate space actually was a guy by the name of Jason Akatif. And he probably has grown more affiliates than anybody else. He has what I think is the best AI Telegram group. It's about 100 guys, super, super active. But because of his background now, at this point in my career too, most of those guys are marketers. And so they're just like, they're all talking about how to use AI in marketing. He's had some ecom brands. He, isn't just running with affiliates and stuff anymore, but that guy historically has been more gracious with his time and teaching and training than, most people in the affiliate space.
Fantastic. Well, Jason, this has been a super fascinating podcast interview. If people would like to learn more about you, learn more about your agency, where's the best place for people to reach out to you?
Twitter's always the best, which my handle is just Jason Kutasi. Super, super creative. So I'm really easy to find. We have a website, but I don't know, we're not too active with the leads there. But if you're interested in what we're doing with AI or have questions about, dude, it's always Twitter. So that's the best place.
Fantastic. Well, Jason, thanks again for joining us today.
Oh, I appreciate you having me, dude. This was great. It was very fun.
Thank you for listening. Visit ecombreakthrough.com for more information. If you've enjoyed today's episode, the best way you can show your appreciation is by clicking the subscribe button and quickly leaving a review. See you again next time.